I want to bring in William Cohen, former Secretary of Defense under President Clinton. Secretary Cohen, thanks for joining us on this. Appreciate it, sir. So before you were Secretary of Defense, you were actually a senator from Maine, Republican senator from Maine. Right. What do you make of the passage of something that is normally very bipartisan, very routine, the NDAA, now becoming a battleground for culture wars?
Well, it's disappointing. I certainly would have been disappointed as a senator. I would have been as Secretary of Defense. We need to focus on how we keep our troops ready and not divert their attention from these issues. And when you start talking about wokeness, I think we need some definition here. What is wokeness in terms of the desegregation of the military? Did President Truman, was he woke when he said no more segregation of our troops along racial lines? Was it wokeness to say that women should be able to fly combat aircraft, high-performance combat aircraft? Was that wokeness, or is it taking advantage of the brains and the capabilities of half of our society, more than half our society? So defining what wokeness is really something that they have to do. Right. But in the meantime, I'd rather let's focus on what we need to do to keep us the best fighting force in the world.
Well, so you talk about that, right? And this is not just the only example of putting culture wars ahead of national security. Senator Tommy Tuberville continuing to hold up the confirmation of any military nominees. And this is essentially over a policy that allows personnel and their families to recoup travel expenses incurred while seeking abortion services if they're stationed in states that do not, that ban, I should say, or restrict the procedure. President Biden calling this all out bizarre and saying it is, quote unquote, jeopardizing, as he puts it, U.S. security. What do you make of this?
I think bizarre is perhaps a softer word than I might otherwise use. And I'm not just focusing on one senator. I would put the entire Senate on record here. Are you going to allow one senator to hold up these confirmations of our high-ranking individuals to take command of our forces globally over this one issue? The Senate has to be on record saying, let's call it up for a vote. Let's confirm these people without going through the authorization process, or at least try to do that. Bring the issue to the floor and let him carry on, or those who support the senator carry on and say, no, this is more important than having these high-ranking officials be confirmed so they can lead our forces in peace and in battle.
Historically, Republicans were known as the party of national security and of the military. Are they still?
Well, I think they still are committed to this. So I think both Republicans and Democrats should be committed to this one issue. We are supposed to be united over our national defense policies. And to the extent that we are promoting division based on either race, gender, sex, sexual identity, et cetera, then we're dividing ourselves. And that only benefits our adversaries and not the military and the American people.
I want you to weigh in, sir, if you can, on the president's performance, I should say, and or negotiating skills and or results that he was able to get from the NATO meeting that we all watched take place over the last couple of days. First and foremost was the initial anger from President Zelensky over not getting a timeline when it comes to joining NATO. And it seemed like the president was able to soften that anger and make the Ukrainian president understand why it is they can't necessarily bring them in, but that there is a pathway forward. And then also the negotiation that was done with Turkey to drop its opposition to adding new members to NATO as well. What do you make of these results and the president's visit overall at the NATO summit?
Well, I think that President Biden deserves a great deal of credit. To hold all the members of NATO, which consists of people of different viewpoints, philosophies, and so forth, other than they're committed to freedom and liberty and the pursuit of equality. But they're diverse peoples, diverse backgrounds, et cetera. He's held them all together in a very difficult time. And I say President Zelensky, he has to be agitated. He has to be expressing his frustration because his people are fighting and dying for freedom, something that we treasure in this country. And so when some people think that we're doing something out of charity for them, we're doing it because it serves their interests, to be sure, in Ukraine, NATO's interests, and the American people's interests, to make sure that Russia does not succeed in changing the rules by breaking them.
Former Secretary of Defense William Cohen, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.